श्रीरूपां साग्रजातां सगुणां रघुनाथं
तं सजीवं
सजीवनं
साद्वैतं
वेदं स्वागतं परिजनसहितं
कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं
कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा
श्रीराधा
कृष्णपादां
कृष्णपदा
सगणललिता
सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु च कत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी कृष्णभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पातरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नम ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So I trust everyone can see the screen that I'm sharing and hear the audio is proper.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thanks. Hare Krishna. So what is bhakti? So Prabhupada has given a good idea. Now people say, oh, I'm very spiritual and, I want to get away from all these things. It's kind of become fashionable. Why? Because, of course, people are getting more and more disturbed, and that's one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga. Technologically advanced, but morally and spiritually paupers. I remember George Bernard Shaw in school. He had written an essay, and in English literature, we had this essay, How Wealth Accumulates and Man Decays. So true. Uh, 40 years ago, uh, learned this and can see it happening in our own lifetimes. There is so much power. We have that little gadget in your hand, the mobile phone, is it's a computer which is so advanced, more advanced than the rockets that they sent in the space, supposedly which landed on the moon. So information at your fingertips, whatever you want, you could get it done. But still, there is no satisfaction. And that is because it is all material. Material, not just matter, but material more in terms of consciousness. So we are searching for things here and there, running after this temporary pleasure it gets, and then we go on to the next thing, never enough. Whether it is with things or whether it is with relationships, never enough. But actually, the real pleasure is who we are. We are Anandamaya Vyasat. Who we are, the spirit soul, it's internal. Everything is internal. You don't need to go outside to look for it. So, Prabhupada has said here, one who seeks pleasure internally, he is a spiritualist. What does it mean, seeking pleasure internally? Internally means to realize the self. The self is Sat Chit Ananda. That Ananda portion, if you're finding within, you know who you are. Okay, that's what you get connected with it. He is a spiritualist, and spiritualist is not someone who's, oh, okay, I have sab kuch tyag, everything, have renounced. I'm not into this, I'm not into that. No, spiritualist is a person who is on the path of self-realization, who's seeking pleasure internally. So for that, this process of self-realization is bhakti. So bhakti is the perfected state of spirituality, self-realization. There are different ways of doing that. There is yoga, which is very popular now, the physical exercises, the Ashtanga yoga, so that the mind can be controlled. That is one way. There is jnana yoga, through knowledge, speculation, not this, not that. And then there is dhyana, meditation, and there is bhakti. The topmost process is bhakti. Bhakti is who we really are. So it is something which is very intrinsic to us. It is not an external imposition. So all what bhakti is doing is trying to unveil all the misconception, misunderstandings we've had since so many millions and millions of lifetime, and reveal who we really are. Hare Krishna. So bhakti is the topmost yoga process. Now, here's what it is. Engaging the senses in the service of Rishikesh, master of the senses, Krishna, under the guidance of a bona fide guru, as a servant is called bhakti. Very important, very powerful also, this definition of bhakti. So what it means is, when all our senses, we have these senses, right? The five senses, engaging that in service of the master of the senses. How do you engage it? Not whimsically, I feel like doing this, oh, it should be like this. No, there's a proper technique. That technique under the guidance of a bona fide guru as his servant. Servant means someone who's always serving. That is called bhakti. Then what happens is, when you do that, the self-centered material consciousness, gets elevated to a Krishna or a God-centric spiritual lifestyle. So this is what bhakti is. Now, bhakti has three components to it: loving, devotional, service. So when we talk about love, of course, everyone understands what is love. We also have some experience of love, but the love that it is being spoken about here is a little bit different, in the sense that it is uninterrupted, never stops, unconditional. That means whatever be the case, whatever you do or you don't do in return for me doesn't matter. I will continue loving you. And unmotivated. I don't expect anything in return, because the love that we have here is in love expecting. Love in return, what we have over here, the material love in return, that love in return is love expecting. And these expectations are all selfish, So that's what love is: uninterrupted, unconditional, and unmotivated. Now, devotion means bas tu hi tu, bas tu hi tu. There is just you and nothing else but you. So total single-minded attention, focus on the object of love. And of course, service. Love is not something abstract. Yes, it is a feeling, it is an intense emotion, but it expresses itself in thoughts, words, and deeds. So service is that platform where love is expressed and reciprocated. And you all will feel it, how this works out. If your spouse makes something that you like, let's say you have a favorite dish, so aloo parathas. So she makes aloo parathas for you. She's thinking that, oh, my beloved loves aloo paratha, how it is going to please him. So actually goes through that process, the physical tasks of making the aloo paratha, and then feeds it. And then when the beloved is tasting that aloo paratha, what he's tasting is not just the ingredients and whatever is that recipe, he's actually tasting that love. And that is the key difference with an aloo paratha at home when it's made with love, and the same aloo paratha you get in a restaurant. In restaurant, it is motive for profit. As long as you pay, they'll feed you, they'll serve you. Whereas here, this is just for that service. So service is that platform where it is expressed and reciprocated. Now, bhakti is of two types. There is the Vaidhi bhakti, which we all are engaged in. So it is structured, regulated principles. We have the do's and don'ts. Okay. So you discipline, because this mind is wild, correct? And it was all the time thinking of I, me, myself, mine. So there are certain processes that you do. Okay. the four regulative principles, then certain, every one of you is familiar with what it is. Would someone like to say what the regulative principles are? Hare Krishna. What are the four regulative principles?
No meat eating.
Yeah. Next.
No toxic. Yeah.
No
No
intoxication.
gambling. No
No
gambling.
gambling.
No illicit.
Correct.
Illicit sex.
And no illicit sex. These are the four don'ts. And what are the four do's?
Tap, shouch,
Chanting 16 times.
Chanting, yes.
16 times a day.
Eating
Association.
prasadam.
reading ABCD Prabhuji.
Very nice.
Book reading.
Please tell what the ABC
For
is.
the prasad to Krishna.
So association, book reading, chanting, and diet as a prasad or dancing in front of the deity.
And deity worship. Very nice. Thank you. So that is Vaidhi Bhakti. And when you get engaged in these regulative principles, the do's and don'ts, what is happening is that there is the elevation of this consciousness. Over here it says, right, transformation of self-centered material consciousness to a Krishna-centric lifestyle. So what are we doing? Right now we all are listening to Krishna Katha. All of us, we're listening to Krishna Katha, right? The speaker, the audience, Krishna Katha is going on. What is that? That is knowledge, information. Krishna Ramanand Prabhu has said information is meant to bring about transformation. How does that transformation happen? That transformation happens when you actually put it into practice. So all that we hear, all that we learn, we understand, okay, try and practice it. When you practice it, right, it becomes realizations, and that's where the transformation starts to happen. Then the next one is when you get into this process of Vaidhi Bhakti, it is a natural progression which will bring us to Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti is spontaneous. To give you an example, is like right now people are doing japa, devotees, you do japa, the mantra meditation, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You're chanting this, and there is a certain quota, a certain number of rounds that you have to do. Actually, it is Kirtaniya Sadahari, right? Always 24/7 you could be chanting, but can we chant 24/7? No. Chanting even one round is difficult because this mind is so chanchal, it is so turbulent, it is running here and there. As a discipline and practice, okay, you have to do, those who have taken Diksha, or those who are aspiring Diksha, a minimum of 16 rounds. But, if you're honest with ourselves, 16 rounds, what happens? The moment 16 rounds is done, the beatback goes down and it's a relief. I met my commitment to chant at least a minimum of 16 rounds. Minimum. But would we do 17 rounds? Will we take a sankalp to do 18 rounds, 20 rounds? Some devotees on Ekadashi day, they chant 25 rounds. Some may be doing 32 rounds. But this is what the situation is, that we have the rounds we will chant. And when the minimum is done, it is done. But spontaneous means what? That I really don't need this discipline to be doing that activity. It just comes naturally to me. It's who I am. It just will happen, just like I'm breathing. I don't need to be disciplined in my breathing, so to say. It's reflexive. It's automatic. So that is, you can look at what Raganuga Bhakti is about. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Okay, so we'll proceed to the next point, discussing more in detail about what Raganuga Bhakti is about. So Raganuga Bhakti, and it has two categories of Raganuga Bhakti. Let's understand what this is. So Raga is a Sanskrit word which means that which colors the mind, okay, with a particular emotion or a mellow or a mood. I'll share with you a pastime. My biological father and my spiritual father, Radhanath Swami, they had. Radhanath Swami was doing research on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he takes sannyas and he leaves home. And his mother, Shachi Mata, she is totally heartbroken. And as she sees Mahaprabhu leaving, she sings this tune of deep melancholy. It's called an Indian classical raga called Rag Bhatiyar. It's a very rare raga. And my father is a musician and, occasionally attend Bhakti Briksha at Adhikesha Prabhu's house. So Adhikesha Prabhu knew he's a musician, Indian classical. So Maharaj was finding this, what is that tune? And Adhikesha Prabhu said, oh, Maharaj, they used to call him Shabad Uncle. Shabad Uncle is a musician, maybe he knows. So they asked, do you know what is Rag Bhatiyar? Yeah. And that's how Dad went with Guru Maharaj, Rag Bhatiyar. And that Rag Bhatiyar, he composed Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And from that day onwards, till he passed away, he must have composed about 20 or 30,000 Indian classical ragas only to the Hare Krishna Mahamantra tune. And that Rag Bhatiyar, it evokes, that melancholy. And just for you, if you're interested, it goes like this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Of course, I'm not doing any justice to it because I'm not a good singer and I have a bad sore throat. So this is what raga is. It evokes a certain emotion. And there are different types of ragas that are sung in the morning, afternoon, evening, night time. Correct? So that's what raga is. And anuga is someone who is a follower. He follows, someone who's a follower. So raganuga is a follower of the ragatmika mood of devotional. Ragatmika is the intense devotion which the Brajvasis have. So someone who's following in the footsteps of the Brajvasis, that mood of devotion and that method is called Raganuga Bhakti, right? And Prabhupada has given this definition in the NOD purport that it is a spontaneous attraction when you're completely absorbed in thoughts of it. Correct? So you can say a sannyas state of mind where you're just absorbed with Krishna, nothing else. There's no other distraction. And in love. So devotional service executed with such feeling of spontaneous love is called Raganuga Bhakti. Currently, you can say we are part-time lovers of Krishna. Yes, there are these glimpses and there are these, you can say like splash. You throw a stone in the water, a little bit will splash on us. So that's what we're trying to do with our sadhana. We do have experiences. Sometimes it's really ecstatic. And sometimes, there is doubt and, oh, what am I doing? And then, is this really the right thing? And then sometimes it seems to be a burden. Oh, I have to do 16 rounds, whatever it be that case. But ragatmika is that experience that we get, just a minute experience. Imagine you just dive headlong, fully into that ocean of love. That is ragatmika, raganuga. Okay, so this has two categories, raganuga bhakti. One is a sensual attraction and other is relationship. Now, sensual is something related to the senses, where you get gratification of the senses. Now, there is a pure sensual attraction, which is gopis. We'll talk about it later. Then there could also be a sensual attraction, as in fear, Kamsa. His mind was all the time absorbed, because that Akashvani was there, that there is this boy who's going to be killing you, right? So all the time he was thinking. Envy, Shishupal. Shishupal was so envious. He used to always insult. That pastime, he had said that you have a boon 100 times. If you do it, then I'll kill you. So he used to come up to 90, 96, 99 time and then again stop. So this is what the sensual attraction one may have, right, towards Krishna. Then, of course, you know the relationships, the 5 types of relationship: Shanta, Rasa, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. So this is what Raganuga Bhakti, and of course, this is a lifetime could be spent in trying to understand what this is. So we are just touching upon an introduction of what Raganuga Bhakti is, but enough so that we would at least know this is what our goal is. And when we are doing whatever we are doing, hopefully it becomes a little bit more meaningful to us. Hare Krishna. Any questions, Prabhu Matajis? Okay. So now, are we in love or is it only lust? So let's understand this. Then we'll get into, what is more about what is Raganuga Bhakti. So love versus lust. When we were youngsters, there was this very popular song, "What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Baby, don't hurt me no more." So if you don't hurt me, that is love. Just think about this, okay? And it was a hit. Or is love, even if you hurt me, I'd still love you anyway? Now people will say, oh, this is, what a defeatist loser mentality. You being hurt and you still love me. Of course, hurt, not in the, there are wicked, evil people. But today you see our level of tolerance is getting, we have a short fuse, very short fuse. Someone cuts ahead, road rage, you start honking and whatever, just, it's so much of rage is there. And just social etiquette and this, to some extent, we try to put a lid on it. You just need a small little thing and then, the whole thing explodes. That's where we are at. So what we're looking at is, what is really love, So one way what we think is love is actually lust. So lust is that, that selfishness. And lust is something which is completely self-centered for my pleasure, I, me, myself, mine. Whereas love is external. It is for the beloved's pleasure, even at the cost of my self-sacrifice. So my Guru Maharaj Radhanath Swami says that the closest we can experience this love in the material world is what a mother has for her child, because it comes closest to unconditional, unmotivated, and uninterrupted. That's what, we can experience, what that love is. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Any comment? Very good. So now we'll understand the spiritual sensuality versus lusty attraction. So, of course, we know spiritual sensuality is what the gopis, Radharani, have for Krishna. And there is another pastime of Kubja, where she had lusty desires towards Krishna. So first, let us understand, what is sensual. Sensual is gratification of the senses and physical pleasure. And of this, sex is the highest form of sense gratification. The highest form of sense gratification is the sexual pleasure. They say sex makes the world go round. Literally, people are crazy. It doesn't matter even, once there is the biological maturity and, the mind just gets occupied with that. Of course, different cultures do it differently, but now it's getting to be more and more permissive. So what's happening is that little kids are being exposed to stuff they shouldn't be, sex, violence, and greed. These 3 things are all the time, all around. So you can see this through the culture. You can see it through, constantly being bombarded. In fact, on the internet, porn is the highest traffic. Pornography is the highest traffic on the internet. Of course, there's a wealth of information, but the search and people are so caught up with this. In fact, it becomes an addiction, just like you have addiction to drugs and alcohol or whatever else it is. This becomes an addiction. So it is the highest form. Sex is the highest form of sense gratification. Covertly or overtly, everyone is focused on that. Hare Krishna. Now, gopis, what is that? Is they have an extreme, that's the best way we can try to understand with a material consciousness to serve Krishna. Now, the acharyas say that it can't be understood by our mundane senses and consciousness. We don't have that capacity and capability. So the closest we can come to understanding what it is, it is described as a sensual, because we understand, okay, this is a sensual attraction, like what is a sexual attraction? We can understand and relate to it. So that it's a very intense, for us, that's the most intense desire. But what the gopis have is even more intense. So they say, okay, to understand what the gopis' feelings is for Krishna, then it is a sensual attraction. However, unlike material sex, which is solely for one's own pleasure, example, Kubja will discuss her pastime, the gopis have nothing in it for themselves. It's just for Krishna, only for Krishna, only for Krishna. So this is what love really is. Unmotivated, uninterrupted. Yeah, that is what an unconditional. There is this pastime. Krishna says, oh, I have headache, and only the dust of the lotus feet of my devotees, when I rub it on my forehead, it'll go away. And he went asking, the Dasya, they says, no, how can, you're a master, how can we give it? Not possible. They asked the friends and his sakhas, they says, oh, we won't be able to do such a thing. How can we do that for Krishna? And they had some sense, Yogamaya's veil was lifted and they understood he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To the elder folks of Braja, saying, no, it is what an aparad it will be to put, your dust of your feet on Krishna's head. And finally went to gopis. The gopis sat down and they scrubbed their feet. And they said, here, take, Krishna, take this. You're in pain. Here, take this. And, they said, Arey, you'll go to hell. What are you doing on the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What are you trying to do? So they said, never mind, even if we go to hell, you get it? As long as Krishna's headache is relieved, we don't mind. That's what love is. It is nothing in it for me. And of course, now we see, nowadays in relationships, it happens. What's in it for me? What have you done for me lately? What have you done for me? But the right question to ask is, in a relationship to work, both the spouse or, anyone who is in a relationship, is, am I doing enough for you? What more can I be doing for you? That is really what will strengthen and build. That is what love is all about. And of course, Krishna reciprocates according to one's desire. In the Bhagavad Gita, he says that, right? You want to have enmity with him? Fine. You want to be an atheist? Fine. The ignorance, the veil of ignorance will cover you. You'll never get to know what it is all about. You want to be his friend? He'll come to you as a friend. As whatever you have your desire, that way he reciprocates. There's a nice pastime. It's a loka praman, means a folk legend. There was this young boy called Dhanna, and from a farmer community, very simple. And, in the days gone by, the mendicants, the sannyasis used to go village to village, door to door, begging for alms and sharing Krishna consciousness to elevate people's consciousness. So one sannyasi came to Dhanna's home. Dhanna was a small boy, 5-year-old. And his parents, invited the sannyasi, offered him prasadam. And the sannyasi had a small deity of Thakurji. Krishna. So they said he saw, the sannyasi worshipping. So Dhanna says, even I want Thakurji, even I want Thakur, a kid. So his parents said, okay. So they just made one Thakurji Murti and they gave him. And Dhanna says that, oh, now I want to feed my Thakurji. So the parents, just made one plate and he gave it. But Thakurji wasn't eating. So this little child, he says that, oh, I want to, Thakurji is not eating, even I'm not going to eat. So the parents said, this is just a toddler's uh, tantrum. It's okay. He'll get hungry. He'll come to eat. But 1 day, 2 days, he wasn't eating. And he was so determined. He used to put the bhoga in front of Thakurji and say, Thakurji, you have to eat it. You have to eat it, Thakurji, with so much feeling. And Thakurji actually would eat. And Dhanna would see Thakurji eating. He had this darshan because of that kind of intense feeling that he had. And this went on for a while, and Dhanna became a teenager. And then some other sadhus came. And he says, my Thakurji. So they said, what are you doing? You're committing an aparadh. Thakurji is not ordinary. In fact, when Thakurji is eating, you should shut the altar and you should leave the room. He needs that privacy. And then at that time, it was like a shock to Dhanna. And Dhanna felt that, oh my God, what am I doing? And that awe and reverence of who God is. From Sakhya, he came all the way down to Shantaras, awe and reverence. And that kind of a distance came in the thing. And it became kind of mechanical, the bhoga. And of course, he no longer had the darshan of Sakshat Bhagwan. And Dhanna grew old. He started now taking care of the fields, correct? He used to go in the fields to make sure that, animals and all don't eat the crops. And it's a pretty large field. And one day a young man with, beautiful eyes, really beautiful, a dark-skinned boy comes to him, young man, about his age. And he says that, I can help you look after your field. So, but what you have to do is, whatever food you get, half of it you have to give me. That will be my wages. So Dhanna says, okay, I'll do that for you. And it goes on for a while. So he has whatever food he brings from home, during lunchtime. He shares it with this labor who's going to help him. And he goes his place to eat, and this person eats. Then one day it so happens that this laborer is sleeping on his side in the afternoon. And then Dhanna comes and sees him asleep. He says, he shakes him kind of rough. And he says, what are you doing? You're not eating food for free. You're supposed to be working, go and look after the fields. What are you doing here sleeping? And he's sleeping with his blanket on his face. So Dhanna pulls that back and he sees that it is his Thakurji. And when he sees it, his heart just bursts with joy. He says, Thakurji, where have you been? Just where have you been, Thakurji, since so many years? I haven't seen you. Where are you? And then Krishna tells him, Dhanna, I've always been with you, but you had this distance from me, so I stayed away from you. But Krishna can never, ever, stay away from his devotee forever, no matter what. So, what we can understand from this pastime is, one, Krishna reciprocates the way we, what kind of feelings we have for him. And, whatever we do in our devotional service, even imperfectly as sadhakas, Krishna appreciates and values that, and he'll never let you go away. No matter what happens through the ups and downs of life, Krishna will always be there with you. Another thing, just to say about what is the feeling or the innocence of a child. Sometimes what happens, knowledge becomes a burden, and it dulls the curiosity, it dulls the spontaneity. Of course, we need knowledge because we don't know what is what. But all the same, my mother was the first person who came into Hare Krishna, and then slowly we got into it. So my nephew, he must have been about 3 or 4 years old, and he used to see my mom doing the the devotional service, arti, offering bhoga and stuff like that. So he used to ask her, Nani, what are you doing? And she used to say, this is what I'm doing. Here's why I'm doing it. So one day when she was offering bhoga, he goes to his mom and he says, Mama, I want to be wood. So she's saying, what? I want to be a wood. Now, a boy who's about 3, 4 years old, they want to be, a fire engine man or a whatever, cricketer or this, that. So this guy says, I want to be wood in all seriousness. So she's saying he's gone mad, this kid. What wood? She just thought it to be prattle, childish thing. And then he went and told my mom, Nanima, I want to be wood. He's saying, yeah, why you want to be wood? He's saying, then that way Krishna will be with me all the time. He had seen the deity of the Krishna on the altar, the temple you have in the house, wood. And that's how he equated it. Now, this is how children see things, simple. Just, his grandma told him what he's doing. And if we can have that kind, reawaken that childlike innocence within us, that will help us bring that spontaneity out in us. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Okay, so, before we go to the next one, very quickly, this Kubja pastime when Krishna was visiting Mathura. Everyone came out to see him. It was a fantastic event, Krishna, Balram, and all the Gopas. And Kubja was a hunchbacked lady, and she was going with this sandalwood and saffron paste. That's what she used to offer it to the king. But when she saw Krishna, she was so attracted, physical attraction to Krishna. She smeared it all over his body, and Krishna accepted it, even though it was lusty desire. So Krishna placed his toes on her feet, and with his fingers, he pulled her chin up, and she turned into a beautiful, her hunchback and all that was gone, into a beautiful lady. So Krishna reciprocates. Even when there was, even Kamsa and even Shishupal, he awarded them liberation. Of course, that liberation is they merged into the Brahma Jyoti, yeah. But all the same, Krishna reciprocates. So a small little thing which is done is what he returns many folds back. Hare Krishna. Any questions, Prabhu's Matajis? Okay. So now, if we have some understanding about, where we are at with our sadhana bhakti, the Vaidhi bhakti, and how we can get to Raganuga bhakti, you all are familiar with this. There are 9 stages of elevation. So first is faith. What is faith? Faith is, you can say, confidence. Faith is trust. Faith is, I think it was Martin Luther King, or I forget who it was, who said that, faith is taking the step in the dark without knowing what is there. So let's say you're going down a deep stairwell and it's all dark, you do not know, but still you place your feet. So what this means is that faith is not a function of knowledge, though knowledge can help increase faith. So faith is something which is intrinsic to all of us. Actually, if you see an absence of faith, you won't be able to function. You won't be able to drive on the road. You do not know that whether the person coming on the opposite side doesn't suddenly swerve into your lane and, smash into you, crash into you. You don't know that, but you have faith. You have faith that the person, will do what he's supposed to do. You don't know. When you take a flight, you don't know what's the state of the pilot, but you have faith in his training. You have faith in the checks and balances of the airline and whatever FAA, things like that. You have faith. So faith is something intrinsic. Faith is necessary for survival. Of course, now faith is also synonymous to religion. It's also synonymous to religion, but faith is something more fundamental than a religion. Religion you can change. You could be you could be a Christian and turn to Hinduism or Islam or whatever it is, whatever isms are there, you could do that. That kind of faith is changeable. But this faith which you're talking is the intrinsic. So first we need to have that little bit of faith. When you have faith, then you get in the association of devotees. Association of devotees strengthens that faith through knowledge and practices. That is your practice called the bhajana kriya, which we all are doing here. You're doing the do's, don'ts, the regulations. When we are doing these spiritual practices, the unwanted desires, correct, that gets eliminated. So from having all these faltu desires, you go for something which is more meaningful, in line with who we really are, what our purpose is. That's called anartha nivritti. Then once we are at that stage, you get into what is called the steady state. Then there is no bumps and hiccups along the way, which we may experience at present moment. Then once in a steady state, we get a higher taste. Currently, our taste is very basal, very, very shallow. So it's a higher taste. Like they say, a hungry man, usko rooti sukhi roti bhi de do, he'll eat it with relish. Someone who's starving, you give him dry bread, that is a big feast for him because he's hungry, right? But someone who's already well fed, correct? He's not going to chase after bread. Someone who has a chappan bhog, a feast, is not going to hanker for dry, stale, basa khana bread. So that higher taste gets developed. And then that attachment. From that taste will come the attachment. Attachment to what? Attachment to Krishna and Krishnas. Hare Krishna. Then from that attachment, we get to these emotions, loving emotion, love. That starts blossoming in our consciousness. And still, it is, we are almost there, but not yet there. Finally, it comes to prema. Prema is what is the unadulterated, pure love for Krishna. So here is how the natural progression happens. And the important thing, as Bhakti Charu Maharaj says, is stick to it. He, in fact, when Maharaj gives initiation, used to give initiation, he used to have one more vow added by his disciples that I will never leave ISKCON. Never leave ISKCON means that no matter the ups and downs, our frailties, the other persons, we all are fallible beings, and we come together and there is friction. No matter what happens, I will stick to it and I will continue through this process. So just staying here and a little bit of seriousness, as last night Sachi Rani and I were talking about this, that currently we are doing sadhana, and our sadhana is mechanical, and we are so used to doing things mechanically that even this process of bhakti will be doing mechanically. So how will we ever come to the spontaneous stage? So Sachi Rani said, simple, how serious you are. How serious, if you really, really want it, you really, really want it, like Dhanna, he really, really wanted it. Then, things fall in place. So a little bit of seriousness, even if now we are still not serious, just keep doing it. As Prabhupada says, we may not be perfect, but we are following a perfect process. Therefore, we will attain perfection. Hare Krishna. Any questions, Prabhus, Matajis? So this is, bringing it to a close. There is a Peter principle, Lawrence Peter, if those of you from the corporate background may be familiar with it. Everyone rises to their level of incompetence. And that's why sooner or later we will disappoint our beloveds. And it all depends on our level of tolerance, whether what level of tolerance we have, whether we will stay together or go our separate ways. And that's what is happening. We are turning into islands, all of us, and technology is hastening that. Uh, the family dinner is no longer a thing. Everyone is with their own screen. Even if they're sitting at the dinner table, everyone will be with their own little screen. Yeah. Then Guru Maharaj says, what you need, all you need is love and to be loved. Now, if you look at this, we all rise to a level of incompetence. Yeah, we will end up disappointing. We get disappointed and we end up disappointing others. That's what the nature of things is. But all you need is love and to be loved. Now, how does this work? Krishna, he is the reservoir, perfection. So what Prabhupada says is if you love Krishna in any capacity, you will never be frustrated because he's perfect. He is Satchitananda. Ishwar Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha. Yeah. And then there is this kind of desire. George Harrison, those of you who know them, the Beatles, yeah, very, very young age, so much popularity. God-like status, the Beatles. He came in contact with Prabhupada, surrendered everything. Bhaktivedanta Manor is his gift to Prabhupada, the ISKCON London temple. And he wrote this, which became top of the charts. And my sweet Lord, I really want to see you. I really want to be with you, my Lord. There's so much emotion, so much bhava in that song. And what did he do? It became, millions and millions of people were hearing Hare Krishna. He has this Hare Krishna, if you know the song. And what does it say? A person who speaks about Krishna pleases Krishna. Person who listens to Krishna, Krishna likes that more. Person who arranges for a speaker and for an audience to get together for Krishna Katha, Krishna is really pleased with him. And person who makes others speak about Krishna, Krishna loves him tremendously. So here's what George Harrison did. Millions and millions of people were hearing, and millions of people were singing Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. And that's the opportunity we have here when we go out for book distribution, when you just sit and talk about Hare Krishna to somebody. So, Prabhu's, Matajis, this is what, in my limited capacity, I have been able to share with you. Any questions, any comments? Please unmute. We can address these. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandot Pranam, all glory. Wonderfully explained, Prabhuji. Each word was like nectar. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Very
Bol.
beautiful class. The definition of bhakti, love, devotion, service, it was all beautiful. All the examples of Kubja, there were so many new things I learned today. Very beautiful. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, like you told about the innocence and the innocence which we had at the child that fades away with time. And my question is like how to maintain that and be like a child, to be more curious, to be the same way how the kids are. So
Yeah.
if we are in that way, I think the devotion also becomes easy.
True.
But
And
how to...
yeah, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he does a yatra in Pune, which is a neighboring city to Mumbai. Krishna Chandra Prabhu has a big bungalow over there, and he has a big garden behind. And in that garden, they have, these swings and what they call that thing? Slide. So when they do kirtan, Maharaj takes the entire, there would be 100 devotees or more. And, they go on the slide, like how little kids go on the slide. Now, if you see a child, Mataji, a child has no inhibitions. A child is not in fear of being judged. Think about it. A child is not in fear of being judged.
Right, Prabhuji.
Yeah. We are in fear of being judged. So the way we dress, the way we talk. So what happens is we put on a facade because all of us have a sense of who we are. And that is what we are trying to portray. And since we don't know who we really are, we think we are the body, we think we are the possessions, we think we are the power that we have and my net worth and all those things. That's what we are projecting. So we are living as a facade, we adults. And of course, culture and whatever else has been thuske, they have filled it in all of us. So it has killed that innocence. Now, to get back to who we are and who our real thing is, we need to be self-realized. My sense of self-worth is not dependent on somebody's opinion of me. I know who I am. I am Satchitanand. I am part and parcel of Krishna. Jivera Swarupa hai Krishnera Nitya Das. I am the servant. I am the eternal servant of Krishna. My role is to be serving Krishna and Krishnas, and everybody else is Krishna. So I see everybody else not as a competitor. I see everybody else as an opportunity to serve so that it would bring me closer to my dear Lord. Then what happens in such a state of mind, in such a state of our consciousness, na Mataji, all these fluff which is there of pratishtha, of um, um, falsehood that we so get engaged in, the anartha nivritti, so to all that nonsense, the mind declutters. And then we can actually see things for what they are. There's so much of beauty around us, so much of beauty around us, ordinary things, Mataji, which we do not even give a second thought or a glance. Next time if you go for a walk, look at a tree. If you come across a tree, and I'm seriously telling you this, look at a tree and go closely and observe the bark, the covering of a tree,
Yes.
the bark. See the intricate design and the pattern. Of course, now, just a few trees may have leaves, but it'll come back again. In the fall, pick up a leaf. There's so much beauty in that thing. Do we even care? So, your lawn, you're raking the leaves and putting it in the bag and throwing it out. Do we even sit to see what? There is so much of thing. Then that curiosity comes, Mataji. If I'm a self-realized person, automatically that innocence comes. All that that facade crumbles. I am who I am.
True, Prabhuji. We are more concerned about even like what people will think about me. Even if I speak a wrong English, I was thinking, why did I even speak?
Yeah.
What people will think.
Yeah. And that's
So
the
that is
reason many
very
times in a
true.
forum, we do not even open our mouth, whether it's in a meeting, and someone else will come about it. I thought about this. The boss will say, great idea. No, I should have said it. I thought about this before he did. But we are fear of being judged. We are fear of being judged.
Very true, Prabhuji.
So these are all self-inflicted wounds. So, be curious. It'll require us to go out of our comfort level. See, there's a difference between being childlike and childish. We need to behave properly. You can't be like throwing a tantrum like a toddler. That is being childish. But childlike is that innocence and the curiosity. And if you are curious, you will come to know that sarva karana karanam. You'll see his hand in everything. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Okay, if there are no questions or any discussion.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Wonderful, wonderful explanation of everything, Prabhu. And especially the confirmation that, Krishna will never leave you, So that was a great confirmation, to hear that, no matter what, however you are, he will always be with you if you have given something to him. So it's a great confirmation. Thank you for that. One question, Prabhu, on the kids. When they are doing some seva at home on our behalf, like, offering food or doing arti or even japa or anything, how much should we ask them to be regulated? Like they are doing purely out of love. Say, for example, Keshav is offering food, right? He doesn't know all the mantras, but he would just offer and he would just chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And he's doing out of love, because we have a Laddu Gopal deity and he would be like, Mommy, let him eat, don't just be rushed to take it away. And he has he feels it's like his brother, So he's doing everything out of love, but he doesn't know all the things or regulations, right? Sometimes even out after like evacuation or something, we don't offer, but how far can those regulations be applied for the kids?
Regulation is applied based on how wild we are, indisciplined. So for children, they have that level of spontaneity, Mataji. And as long as they do not do it whimsically, so as a parent, we should be able to guide them that it should be whimsically. So for example, if it is bhoga, and initially the child may have attraction because it may be something new. So that newness is there. And then after a while, they may get bored of it, or they'll do it occasionally. So as a parent, it will be our responsibility to make it, keep that newness. Now, how do we keep that newness? By telling them stories, get them more and more attracted to Krishna, knowledge. So that's what we need to bring that out. And then, always ask them these questions. What do you think? What would Krishna be doing now? It's not so much of mantras. It's not so much of ringing the bell. It is not so much of doing the arti 4 times on the feet and, whatever is that process, twice at the navel, thrice at the face, 7 times all around. And there's a science behind it. Yes, there is. But with a child, to get them, bring them closer and closer, get them more and more attracted towards Krishna, rather than it being a flash in the pan. So that would be the balance with, like Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says, that sincerity helps us, fidelity to the essence and flexibility in the implementation. So that balance has to be maintained. And if the child doesn't know the mantra, won't really want to sweat over it, but they are sponge. They can pick up. And if you see our Bhagavad Gita shloka recitations, so many kids, my God, little kids, all the 700 verses they have memorized. And we adults will find it a little bit of a challenge. So keep the child engaged, make it exciting for that child. Today, our children have heroes like Marvel comics and sports heroes. They worship them. But, there are so many pastime of Krishna and his devotees. And that wonderment, if we can bring. And it isn't only a one-way street, Mataji. With children, we can learn so much. Their perspective, how they see things. What do you think about this? Bring ownership for them. This is our deity, our home deity. This is your lalla. So like that. I hope that answers. I may not be.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. No, thank you so much. This helps.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, wonderful class. If a family member does not listen and we want to serve the Krishna,
Yeah.
offer the prasad, and they are impatient to eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we handle that situation?
Yeah, it is a very practical situation because not everybody, and some people are very fortunate where the entire family is in service, correct? And they don't mind having this austerity ki Bhagwan pehle khayenge, and then later on, after 5-10 minutes, after we lift the bhoga, wash the plates, then everyone else will honor prasadam. So it does happen. And one devotee, what they do is that bhoga, they offer it to Bhagwan. And from we have to look at what we can do, and then how we behave will inspire others. Now, if we throw our weight, no, Bhagwan has to eat, and only then after that you can eat, and this, that, and all, it will drive people away from Krishna consciousness. So if the child is hungry, if the spouse is hungry, the spouse doesn't believe in it, the child doesn't believe in Hare Krishna, that is fine. I have offered my bhoga. Krishna sees what our intention is. We have offered the bhoga. We are not jumping the queue and eating because I'm hungry. Even if I'm hungry, I've offered it to Krishna. And if a relative is honoring that prasadam, it is offered to Krishna. In our mind, we know that it is. And gradually, the person will one day realize that, oh, even I should, out of respect, wait.
So you don't make them understand or explain what you wish, or
you can do it in a nice way, but still, if they insist, then don't dig your heels. That's fine. Let me offer this first to Krishna. And if you want to eat, whilst the offering is going on, that is fine.
Now, what I do, I take it out the food for Krishna in a plate.
Yeah.
But I make a hot chapati for everybody in the family. So I serve them hot chapati, but then I keep separate first, offer separately, and then when I get time, I go to Krishna's, near the devotees, and then offer it. Let them finish up, and then I do it. Is that okay to do?
Mataji. Yeah, that is fine. There is, see, Mataji, if you look at, one way to look at it is that they also are Krishna's family.
Right.
If you have that consciousness that they also are Krishna's family, and you're serving them, so if you have kept it separately, you make for Krishna, and whatever is your chapati, sabzi and all, and you're offering, and there are circumstances that we run into. Many a time, Mataji, when Prabhupada came to the US, his prasadam, he used to keep it right next to meat. Right next to meat in the fridge. Think about it. But he would offer bhoga. Now, if you look at it in one way, it is contaminated. And Prabhupada, the pure devotee, but he didn't criticize, he didn't ostracize, he didn't... and then slowly, that transformation came about. So our actions speak so much more louder than all our pravachan and all our knowledge and all our shlokas and all our everything. So family situations sometimes can get a little tenuous, but we need to be very patient, be strict with ourselves and very lenient with others.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Sometimes I feel guilty, but now you clear it up. Thank you so much. Dandavat Pranam.
Jai Prabhupada. Very good.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, on that path of stages of bhakti from Shraddha to pure love, which stage is that from there we could not fall down?
You can fall down anytime, Prabhu.
Yeah, that's the question, Prabhuji. So I think from pure devotional service, there is no chance to fall down, or still there is a chance.
There is a situation, extremely rare, because once upon a time, Prabhu, we all were associates of Krishna. And it's because of misuse of a free will. That free will is always there. And because of that misuse of a free will, we rebelled. Why should Krishna be the one served? Why should I be doing the service? Why don't I enjoy? Why shouldn't I be served? So Krishna says, fine, you want to be a little Ishvara? Here's this place where you can live out your fantasies. So that's how we fell down, right? That's what's called the fall down. So the thing, what we can learn from this is don't take it for granted, no matter what stage we are at. So the more you elevate, the more you think yourself fallen, the more you think you're like a drop of water on the edge of a leaf tottering anytime it's going to fall. And that kind of a thing brings about humility. That kind of thing brings about being more careful in what we do and not take it for granted. We take things for granted. I take things for granted. And that's why I can't chant properly. The most sublime thing which is given to us, japa, we take it so casually. We chant so this way. So like again, what Sachi Rani said, seriousness. So you could fall anytime, Prabhu. But chances are once you've gone through this process, na Prabhu, वो बोलते हैं ना, once bitten, twice shy. एक बारी जब हाथ जलेगा, you'll be very, very careful handling the gas. So that's way, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We should never think that, oh, I'm at the prema stage, abhi meko kuch nahi hoega.
So this ladder is like the sliding that we are going to up, but there we have to be careful.
Yeah, you
sliding
have to.
back.
I mean, don't take anything for granted. So yes, there is spontaneity. And spontaneity is there's just tu hi tu, bas tu hi tu. There's no other thought which will come in the mind. But still there is that free will which is given. Free will doesn't go away. Free will always remains. And, it can, we can again slip. But once we have come back here and we have gone through this, through fire, and then that being very, very careful, chances are, almost statistically, you can say 0. But the important thing to understand, Prabhu, is don't take it for granted. Like someone asked Prabhu, what is the result of chanting? Chant more. When you actually start chanting properly, you will chant more. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Very good. So if no other discussion, questions, we can bring this to a close. Hari Bol. Sameshwar Prabhu. I think Prabhu must be on the altar.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, wonderful questions section. Basically covered the spontaneous love, what is lust and what is love. Well, that's very appropriate and very good that we can understand that in detail, that we can distinguish where we are doing the right and wrong. The most important thing is that we should develop that spontaneous love for Krishna. There's the way that we can come to. That's very nicely explained today. We all can practice and to come to that stage of spontaneity, so spontaneous love, Raganuga Bhakti. So yes, we all can come to reach to that level, and that's where we are able to develop more and more love for Krishna and come to the stage of bhav and prem and pure devotion and all those. Thank you so much. Anything else? Anybody else would like to add? So next Wednesday, the Radha Shyam Prabhu is speaking in our temple. He's speaking on very specific topic of the love and trust that never rust. This is a very nice topic. It's the same topic, love and trust. Faith, trust, we can take it as trust, and the faith and the love that we develop that never rust. That means it always stays there in the grace of Krishna. Everything else is lost. That's temporary. That's fade away. Okay. So please join. And also 15th is Advaita Acharya's appearance day. So we have program at the temple starting at 6 p.m. There'll be Abhishek, Kirtanarati, and Samshivas Prasadam will be there on 15th Thursday, next Thursday. So thank you so much. Yeah. So anything else? So 21st is Nityananda Trayadashi. That also we have same program, Arathi Abhishek Kirtan and Abhishek, everybody can participate. Abhishek, there's the greatest of, especially Advaita Acharya's appearance day and Nityananda Trayadashi. Everybody can participate in Abhishek. Thank you so much. So please join. Anything else? Okay, I think that's it. Anybody else has anything to add or any other comments, questions?
Prabhu, I don't know if it's getting late, but I had if you could speak a little bit about Ragatmika. Just if you could give some highlights on what is Ragatmika.
Yeah, it was one day, Charu Maharaj gave a very beautiful example when Maharaj was giving a seminar that gave in the temple, I think a few years back, 4 years back. So Ragatmika is Atmika, that means Raga, Anuga or Raga Atmika means one when we follow a devotee, every devotee, every aspiring devotee to come to that stage of spontaneity, then one has to follow a devotee whom we admire or when we can follow. That means we are called Rupanugas. That means we are followers of Srila Rupa Goswami. So like that, Maharaj was giving an example. It's not that easy that we can enter into the Goloka Vrindavan. Okay, we say, okay, we can enter, we go there and we can. So one has to come to that level of, that's why it's always says that Srila Prabhupada that I have a back door. That means just follow me. So this is Ragatmika, that means we are following great personalities, Srila Prabhupada, Acharyas, spiritual master, because of they carry the mercy of Srimati Radharani. This was Maharaj was giving. Because of the mercy of Radharani, or because of the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's path and the footsteps. And that is nothing but the footsteps of or the following Srimati Radharani. So when we follow Srimati Radharani, then we have a great chance to enter into the or entrance to the Goloka Vrindavan. Otherwise, it's very difficult. So Maharaj was giving because of that's called Ragatmika. That means we follow a great personality. Unless okay, so now we are in ISKCON, so we don't realize much of it because anyway we are following it. But the people are outside of it. It's very difficult for them. Okay, that okay, I can enter into the Golok. Because of the mercy of Srimati Radharani, because of we are following our Acharya, spiritual masters, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Goswamis, then we have an opportunity to enter into the Goloka Vrindavan. This is called Ragatmika. That means following the footsteps of the great Vaishnava. So Raganuga means then we are spontaneous love for Krishna. Raga means attachment. Okay, Raga is another tune is there, but mainly Raga means attachment for Krishna. Raganuga, spontaneous love. So yes, following the great personality, like great devotees, that is called Raga Atmika. This is explained in the Dhandhara Maharaj's The Ways of Devotion. In that section of Raganuga, and there is a section called Ragatmika. Maharaj was very nicely explaining this part. So that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals that we should all follow the footsteps of the gopis. That is Ragatmika. In the beginning of this chapter also, Srila Prabhupada was mentioning about that. So they follow the Raganuga Bhakti, the devotees, and if you follow them, that becomes Ragatmika. Those who are already into that stage. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Jai. Thank you so much. Anything else? Anybody else? Okay. Let's conclude then today's session. Vancha kalpatarubhashya kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Vandaraj Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai.
Jai.
Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Ananda Gaudi Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Guru Premanande Hari
Hari
Hari.
Hari Bol.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Very
Krishna.
good.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Krishna.